Everybody, thanks for watching. And just a quick reminder that the Egyptian Book of the Dead Part 2 is now available. Definitely check that out. So, we are familiar, we are all aware of the history that we have endured in this country and around the world. And, slavery, genocide, racism, all of this from, a racist white system that we have endured for, hundreds of years. So today we are facing a lot of psychological programming, and we have a lot of psychological scarring from the history and everything that we have, endured over the years. And, it's never been really dealt with, So I look up and, I see a lot of black people understand this. You have a lot of people scream white privilege, racism, and everything like that. But when it comes time to point out the problems and the tools that are used against us, this is where black people begin to fold and separate. We all can agree that there's oppression, that there's a problem, but as soon as you want to point out the problem, we don't want to accept it, because we have, again, found that we have been programmed to basically love the oppression, to basically deal with it now. And that's the issue, facing us right now, that we complain so much and we talk about the issues and the problems, but as soon as it's time to address it, it's like, people turn the other cheek. It's like complaining that you're in a relationship and somebody's cheating, and then when you see the video of them cheating, you still don't want to accept it. This is what we're doing as black people. We see the problem, the issue is right there, but we don't want to accept it. We don't want to deal with it. So, I'm sick of, black people complaining, talking about the problems and the issues and everything. But as soon as it comes time to address the real issues, we don't want to talk about it. We don't want to deal with it. We don't want to go deep into the real problem. So what we have effectively done, we have let these people give us the worst part of their culture, the worst part of them, and pass it to us as a culture. Plain and simple. They done took everything bad, everything illegal that they used to do, and give it to us as a culture. And we took it, and we don't even understand what it is. So now, before we was allowed to leave the black neighborhood and venture out into any white neighborhoods, before desegregation, there was already crime in America. There was already a criminal element in America. There was already gangs in America before any Bloods or Crips, before black people even decided to put together a gang or do anything on a criminal side of things in white society. There was already criminals. There was already crime. There was already gangs, of course. This stuff was already going on. So it's nothing new. It was already blue-collar crimes and white-collar crimes and bank robberies or what have you, murders and kidnappings and rapes, and all this stuff was going on before integration. So now there's a history to what I'm about to speak on, and it's important. So I talked about before how you have North Africa being separated from South Africa, how they want to talk about the sub-Saharan Africans, separating them from the Northern Africans, making it as if North Africa is different from South Africa, as if the people in sub-Saharan Africa have no claim to North Africa, and that land was always basically belonging to Europeans. So, we know that's bullcrap. And when you go and look at the conquest of the Italians, who was basically inhabiting most of North Africa right now, mixing in with the people that was there, indigenous people, you have basically, the facts, the proof that these people, after they conquer, you go and look at any land or country they conquer, they come in, they destabilize, they take over, and once, the place is conquered, they move in. You have immigration. You have them take over a land and then immigrate in, Italians or white people, what have you. It's the same thing with Germany and England. Same thing. They take over a land, destabilize, get the people out of there, and then they have immigration. So it's the same issue. So now it says here, Italians residing abroad for specified years. This is 1871 to 1926. Important. The war, 192,000 in 1911. to 41,000 in 1926. England, Serbia, which has the greatest rate of increase, Romania and Belgium following in the order given. Many Italians also reside in Africa, 189,000 in 1926. Most of them are in the Mediterranean zone, especially in Tunisia, or Tunis, whatever you want to call it. So Egypt, Algeria, we know, Morocco, North Africa we're talking about here. So you already have, and we have on record, of course, them basically taking over, destabilizing, and immigrating into these countries. This is what they do. This is what they have done for a long time. We see the same thing in Algeria, Chile, Brazil, which is why you see them having the white skin. They take over, and they have immigration. And this is why we've seen in America all the immigrants coming into America once America was, really taken over by the Europeans. And I say taken over by the Europeans because it was our land before that, of course. So they came in, and once they had everything stabilized to their liking, you have immigration. Okay, so let's just put that on the table. So you have, with the immigration of Italians coming into New York, the establishment of gangs. And we understand you had a movie called Gangs in New York about the street gangs in New York. And we know we had the Italians form a gang, which will later become the mob. And that the crime rate in New York was sky high because of this mob. These gangs or what have you, they're organized into mobs. And we know these, gangs and mobs were organized into the mafia, and we have organized crime. So today, where you have somebody like Trump talking about the crime in America and how these immigrants are going to be coming in and it's crime and everything like that, whereas the mob is still to this day glorified and what they have done and what they accomplished. So we have to step back and look at this and understand what has taken place. And understand that you go through the history of the Italian mob in America and what they have been able to effectively do. And the murders, the bank robberies, the thefts, so much has happened. And it's been dramatized and made into movies. And it's just been, this unbelievable, excitement and glorification of mob history. You have here in Vegas, the Mob Museum. They have mob shows where they have actual real mobsters talking about the building of Vegas, with the mob, and how they built this place and how they own this place. So it's glorification, mob, and everything that we see. So you go and look, you have Bugsy Siegel, and you have all the famous gangsters that existed throughout all the major cities in North America. And we know it was like a big deal. It's a problem with all the gang violence and everything that they was doing. So we got to realize again, the history in this country. Long before anybody said anything about black on black crime, it was white on white crime. Long before any black person picked up coke to sling, white people was already slinging it. Plain and simple. So everything that we are basically demonized for today has already been done big time by white America long before we ever started touching anything. Plain and simple. So again, what we have to realize is that you had a criminal element in this country. The worst criminal element in this country was the mob. Plain and simple. Italian mob, who done some unbelievable things in America, and it's glorified today. So once the mob, of course, got smart, civilized, and they basically, went legit and moved everything into, business. Start sending their kids to law school to become, police captains and judges and politicians, and they eventually work their way up into the corporate world and into the political world and into basically organizing themselves to be a legit controlled organization versus a illegal deadly mob. And now they are in many facets in America of government and business and industry or what have you. And that's the story. Success, boom, out the way, turning, crime into organized, profits, organized system. This is what they effectively done. So what they have also done was give us that stigma. So we have basically taken the role of the mob, plain and simple. We have taken the worst part of white America, the worst part of white American history, and made a culture out of it. We walking around talking about we gangsters, we OGs, drive-bys. All that stuff was done white America long before we ever picked up any kind of gun or Tommy gun or automatic weapon as black people. They were already doing it in America. So we have taken the worst part of their history and culture, the worst part of what you can look up in this country and see, besides slavery, that white people have done. And we have a culture called hip hop based upon that. And people are going to say, oh, well, what are you talking about? It's not even like that. It is when you pay attention to the culture. We're talking about killing each other, talking about, we gangsters, we G's, OG. You have so many rappers with gangster names. We ain't gangster. We was never gangster. They were gangsters. So we sitting around, we talking about white man this, white man that. Well, we took the worst part of them and made a culture out of it. They gave us their leftovers. This is why they laugh at us. This is why like every mob movie throw a shot at black people. Because we walking around acting like we tough Tony and we gangster and we got it from them. Plain and simple. It's not us. It's their culture, the worst part of them, that they flipped into a culture called the hip hop and gave it to us. Now we walking around acting like we them. Plain and simple. And a lot of people don't pick up on it that, we are basically taking their scraps and making, a culture out of it. And it's not just in hip hop and taking this gangster thing. We got to look at everything that we jump on, as a people, just to get by. We don't even really realize what we're doing. Because before we picked up a basketball, they said we can't. Nope, you can't come into this league. Whites only. Baseball, nope, you can't come into this league. Whites only. All these sports we couldn't touch. White man sports, white only. Now, they finally said, okay, we bring you niggas in, we're going to make money off of you. And we go ahead and jump in there and think we're doing something to forget about where we come from, forget about our people and our family, to jump into this white, culture, this white man stuff that they gave us in order for us to do something with. So in every major facet of black success, as far as the entertainment world, comes from them. Hip hop based off of white gangsters. Plain and simple. Sports and entertainment came from them. Plain and simple. Now it's not to say, okay, well, black people didn't invent certain things and everything like that. We're talking about the people who brought it out and put it mainstream. Because you can go back to Egypt and get hockey and some of these other sports and everything like that. We understand that. But mainstream in America, this is where it came from. They said we can't have it. We wanted it even more. So now the thing is, when you bring this stuff up to people, they don't want to talk about it. A lot of people don't even want to accept what I'm saying and understand that it's the truth. That you took the worst part of white history, the worst part of, white culture, which is this whole gangster thing. And we took it and copied it, and now we think it's us. And they laughing at us. It's a joke. Gangster, they gangsters. They are the original gangsters before us. You have everybody talking about, Scarface and, John Gotti and Bugsy Siegel and all these mob movies, looking up to mob stuff. I mean, it's crazy. You got P. Diddy walking around talking about some Goodfellas. You remember that? Like, come on. Everybody copying off the mob, copying off what they did, their success. And we're trying to roll it into a culture that's based upon the worst part of white history in America. It's a joke. It's crazy. It's hard to get, black folks to accept that, to understand what I'm saying, and to look at it as such, that this is where the culture came from. Plain and simple. And we want to talk about how we rapping about what we seen in the street and everything like that, but it went from us talking about our issues and problems to gangster stuff. Oh, it's gangster. We still saying it to this day. Everything had to be cheeky. Gangster. The whole slang, the language, the culture, everything comes from the worst part of white America. When we copied it and we using it, we've been running with it ever since. Now, part of it is the sense that we've seen a group of people stick it to the government and basically get away with it. But the problem with us is we have never been able to take, what we have been doing, the criminal element of, the gangs that we see and everything that we've been doing, drug running or what have you, and parlay that into something that the mob did as far as organized crime. We haven't even done that. We haven't even gotten organized. We've just been killing each other. Where they got organized. They got smart. They saved their money. They sent their kids to college. They looked at the long-term plan, and we sitting worried about today.